This is Texans TV.
This week on the show, we go one-on-one with defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, and we examine a few key 2020 matchups for the Texans. Texans 360 starts now.
We are ready to rock in Houston. Rock and roll, touchdown, Texans.
Well, hello, and welcome into Texans 360. I'm your host, Drew Dougherty, and look who it is. It's the voice of the Texans, my good friend, Marc Vandermeer. Marc, how are you, my friend?
Drew, I'm doing great. You know, I'm wearing my quarantine jacket, so I'm really excited for this show. Let's rock.
Yes, I like it. It's the kind of pinkish hue, and we've got a big show because we're going to go one-on-one with Jordan Akins. We've got a Dear Drew, and we're going to travel into 2020 Texan style. But we start things off with a little bit of news of the week, and it all centers around the virtual learning program, the virtual off-season program that the Texans and the rest of the NFL are going through right now. Now, it got extended. So Commissioner Roger Goodell says through the end of May, you teams can keep doing this. It was originally scheduled to end May 15th. So they get an extra 2 weeks. That's a big bonus because you're not able to work with these guys on the field. So this is the next best thing.
Well, they would be with them in the building right now, as you know, Drew, doing OTAs. On-field practices, not in pads, would go a long way toward getting you ready for the season, including breaking in new defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, who's been with the club, obviously, and also Tim Kelly, who's going to call plays this year, was the OC last year, but it's going to be a bit of a difference. However, they're having to bear down, do it all virtually, digitally right now. They get an extra couple of weeks. Now, they'd rather be in the building. Maybe there is a shot to get in the building before the long break between what would have been minicamp and training camp. We'll see how that goes. And I think, Drew, we're very much at a week to every other week kind of thing right now as to how this plays out, because every state, every city is a little different.
It sure is. And you just brought up Anthony Weaver. We've talked with him quite a bit, and we love hearing from him, but we haven't talked to him since he became the defensive coordinator. You did, though. You went one-on-one with him, and here's that conversation.
Houston Texans defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver and former Texans player Anthony Weaver. Well, Coach, how's it going? Good to see you.
Oh, things are great. Things are great, Mark. I mean, you know, in this environment, just you realize how much you take for granted. But it's been awesome to get this time with the family, and I just pray for all those who are being affected by COVID right now.
I mean, you guys work so much as a staff, and this time of year, I know it's always hot and heavy in the building with OTAs and everything. What is it like being home, family, and getting all this work done as a coach at the same time?
It's been unique. Never have I had to, I've never been in meetings and had my 2-year-old son run up to me and try to play with my controller. But we're still working. We're working with all the technology we have available to us. We're still making progress and moving in the right direction. And I think as long as you're doing that, then everything will be okay.
What do you think is different that you bring to the table as defensive coordinator, just in general? What do you think it is, Coach?
Me personally, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to have a calm demeanor. I'm going to be a rational thinker and logical thinker in times of high stress situations. But I have the utmost faith in our players and in the staff. I'm very fortunate to still have, Romeo Cornell on staff, who obviously has been a huge mentor for me, has a tremendous amount of wisdom and knowledge, and is not afraid to share it. And then all the players we got some really good players who I can't wait to just get a hold of and put them in some of these new schemes that we're devising up.
Will this season's defense be more aggressive?
I said this, previously, that I envision our defense being a reflection of our city. So I want a defense that's going to go out there and be extremely passionate about ball. They got to be tough. They got to be Texans tough, and they got to be resilient. They got to be able to respond in the face of and be successful in the face of any adverse situation. And I think we have the guys on the roster to get that done.
It's got to be an interesting dynamic when you're a player. You're fully responsible for yourself, part of a team. Now you're responsible for so many guys. What do you perceive as the difference, really?
I mean, Mark, it's no different than being single and then getting married and having kids, right?
Yeah.
You just feel the pressure of not wanting to let anybody down. And that's probably the biggest thing. When you're by yourself, you control all of that. So you control how hard you work and how disciplined you are. Now you're trying to motivate and bring people along with you. While you feel that pressure, it's always something I've embraced. I've always saw myself as a leader, even as a player. So this isn't a position or anything that feels unusual to me. It's actually something I embrace.
Well, Coach, I think I speak on behalf of all the season ticket members when I say I am ready to run through a brick wall right now for you. So great job today, and it's been great listening to you and watching you, and we're looking forward to watching the team play come August. Thanks a lot for being with us today.
Appreciate you having me on.
He's clearly excited. We're all excited to see what Weaver's going to do. It's a good thing, too. Romeo Crennel still in the fold, still on the staff, but it's fun because Weaver's going to get tested. That defense gets tested right out of the gate. Thursday Night Football, Mark, to start the season in Kansas City.
Well, and you go right back to where the playoff loss was. And as far as Weaver goes, I'd love to stake him to a 24-0 lead and see how it goes this time. You'd love to have that opportunity again. I just think it's going to be interesting to see Anthony's play calling, the creativity, how he puts his stamp on this defense differently maybe than Romeo Crennel even, who's got so much experience. But Weaver with a little bit of a different history. Rex Ryan, Urban Meyer even. He was a grad assistant with him at Florida. But Drew, I'm so excited for that opener, as everyone else is. And I think there was no better situation than going up there and ripping off the Band-Aid and taking on that team, seeing if you can do better this time.
Yes, and then in the second half of the season, a few highlights, including you're going back to Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, just like you did back in 2012 when you beat those guys in overtime.
Deep in overtime, and 4 days after you beat Jacksonville deep in overtime. Look, I love this. A traditional NFL matchup as far as Thanksgiving, Turkey Day of the early game, and they'll be back. They'll be back Thursday night to have some late night turkey with their families. I think the lack of a prime time full slate here is notable for the Texans. You have Deshaun Watson on your team, and the league decided not to put him on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. Now, they'll probably get flexed a time or two. Monday Night Football, though, no Watson. I was surprised about that. However, you do get the national opener on that Thursday night, and you get Thanksgiving against Detroit, and then the Saturday-Sunday flex-type game with Indianapolis a little bit later on in the season. I think it plays out interestingly, I should say, but you know how it is, Drew. You never know how a schedule is going to play out ultimately, because we remember a couple of years ago, starting 0-3, winning 9 in a row, finishing 11-5. You just don't know until you navigate through it.
And look at this. We've talked about the schedule, and it's taken until the very final question for us to even bring up the AFC South. You finish in December with 2 against the Colts. You conclude the regular season at home against the Titans. AFC South going to be rugged again.
Well, and as I peer over the transom here, I can see that the Titans finished with 5 of their last 7 on the road, including dates at the Texans, regular season finale, against Baltimore, Green Bay on the road. Titans have a tough finish. This whole thing could come down to the wire. Now, on paper, it looks like Colts, Texans, Titans. You never know about the Jags. Doesn't look great heading in. But again, you never know. It's the NFL. We didn't expect them to do what they did in 2017. I think it's a super exciting division. I think it's the second or third best division in the entire NFL. It just doesn't have the brand name recognition as, say, the NFC East or one of those, or the NFC West, which I think is the best division. So I'm excited about it. Let's see how it all transpires.
Yes, let's see how this rest of the show transpires, because when we come back on Texans 360, we're going one-on-one with tight end Jordan Akins. Stick with us. Back at it here on Texans 360, Drew Dougherty with my good pal, Marc Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans. And Mark, in 2019, the Texans tight end group scored, and they scored often.
And led by Darren Fells, a guy who's supposed to be a blocker, but he had 7 touchdown catches to lead tight ends in Texans history for a single season. And I'm excited to see what Kahale Waring can do as well. And also a guy you had a chance to catch up with this week.
That's right, Jordan Akins. He caught a pair of scores last year and was really productive. And he has his sights set on 2020 and beyond. Fun times now. We're joined by tight end Jordan Akins. And Jordan, it's good to be with you. Let's just start things off. I do all of these. We've all scattered since the season ended. But where are you right now? How are you doing, and what are you doing, man?
I am in Houston. I just flew back into Houston, actually. I've been in Orlando training, and with family, trying to avoid this crisis that's going on right about now.
So you're back in Houston for a little bit. What's the virtual off-season program been like? Y'all started that up on April 27th. You're going to go for another week or so. How's that been for you guys?
It's been fun. It's been a lot of communication, a lot of new terminology and everything going on with the offense and the new wide receivers that's coming and, you know, some of the new veteran players. We're all just trying to get on one accord. So the meetings has been going well as far as learning. And, you know, me, I'm a visual learner, so I like to walk through and stuff like that. So I kind of missed that side of the game. But as far as like communicating and getting on one accord on that level, it's been going well.
Tell me about the tight end group. What's it been like meeting as a unit? You know, you guys have an interesting room. You, Darren Fells, Jordan Thomas, Kahale Waring. I mean, you proved and you showed how important you guys are, especially in the red zone scoring opportunities last year. But what's the room been like this offseason, this virtual offseason?
We challenge each other. That's the most important part. Make each other better. All of us have different games. So, you know, we bring something different to the table. And we have different skill sets. And, you know, we're just trying to put everything together. And, you know, we help each other out a lot. It's not just food for thought for just one person. We're feeding everybody. So, you know, we're leaning on each other. We're pushing each other, make each other better. And, you know, hopefully all of us get to touch the field this season.
What have you worked on trying to improve the most as a player this year?
I've been trying to gain weight and maintain speed as well as footwork, you know, my blocking footwork. And I've really been focusing on my body. Usually we don't have this much time. So, you know, we usually be back, you know, going into OTAs and everything and whatnot. But now I'm actually able to focus. You know, I've been doing a little yoga. You know, I've been just stretching a lot more, really taking care of my body.
Before the pandemic started, were you able to do yoga like in a class setting, or was it?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I actually did it. And I did yoga in Georgia, Florida, and here in Houston.
How'd that go? How do people react when they see you come in the room? Because I've heard about NFL players doing yoga classes over the years, and it always seems like there's an interesting reaction from the rest.
Yes, you know, actually my girlfriend, she really introduced me to like hot yoga. I'm used to just doing normal yoga, and normal yoga hurts for me, but hot yoga, you know, it just loosens the muscles, you know, it's better. I think it's better, you know, that's my opinion. But
what was your reaction initially when you saw the 2020 schedule come out on Thursday for the Texans?
I see it as a challenge. We have great opponents that we're facing, so it's going to be really good competition this year, and we look forward to the challenges, man. We got a great game to kick off the season. Thanksgiving, you know, the entire schedule is competitive. Us Texans, we're looking forward to just getting these wins in and, you know, hopefully be playing in February.
Well, hey, man, it's good talking with you. I hope you're doing great and look forward to seeing you hopefully sooner than later, but stay safe, and we really do appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Likewise, I appreciate you having me.
You got it. All right, man, take care, and we'll talk to you again soon. After the break on Texans 360, we're examining the 2020 roster as it stands in May.
There for the sack. Might make a play on special teams. This could get Penn State back in the game. Reed down the 15-yard line. Isaiah Coulter.
That was Isaiah Coulter. Another touchdown for Coulter.
Bernard heading the other way. Touchdown. TCU Ross Blacklock with the sack.
You better block number 58. He is an outstanding football player.
John Reed. And he is sacked. The football comes out.
A lot of new faces on the Texans in 2020. Two faces that you recognize, mine and Marc Vandermeer's. And Marc, like we mentioned earlier, this offseason dominated by the headlines of all the transactions, but one thing is for sure, Deshaun Watson is back, and he's got weapons upon weapons upon weapons at his disposal on offense in 2020, doesn't he?
Well, he does, Drew, but what I like is the offensive line. I want to start there because at this time last year, or let's say right before the draft, you really didn't know how they were going to put it together. They draft Titus Howard, Max Sharping, and now you know what the line is going to be like going into 2020. It is good. This is a good offensive line. played together last year, and I think they're going to run the football very well this year with David Johnson, Duke Johnson. When you talk about the receivers that Watson has to throw to, look, I know everybody misses Hop. There's no doubt of the contribution he made, but look at the group here. Look at Will Fuller. Look at Kenny Stills, Randall Cobb, Brandon Cooks. What they can add as an arsenal is really exciting. And we were talking about the tight ends earlier. This group is only going to get better as well. So, I like all the guys he can throw to, the backs out of the backfield. The way that Tim Kelly can mix it up, it's going to be exciting.
It sure is. And then on the flip side of the ball, Anthony Weaver said, hey, how good is Justin Reed going to look now that he's healthy and he's not fighting through a pair of shoulder injuries like he was last year when he was an above-average player?
Well, I don't worry about Reed at all. I think that the interesting development is going to be the other safety spot. And remember, this team likes to change things up, I don't think Lonnie Johnson is a safety yet. Maybe he never becomes one, but I think in certain situations he could match up against tight ends and, guys who safeties might typically cover. Because when you look at that back end, Drew, it's not just four guys in a base defense. You go nickel, you go dime, you go dollar, you go all over, every kind of denomination of currency you can think of. They mix it up quite a bit. So I want to see Murray get some action. I'm excited here. We talk about the rookie John Reed. I think that he is a player who could add something. I don't know if it's on a rotational basis. I know he's going to play special teams, but it'll be interesting to see if he can, get some playing time in the defensive backfield, some earned playing time, not earned because of injury. I think they got a lot of guys who can play corner, and the nickel situation is going to be fun to watch them put together.
You just brought up the dollar defense. I don't know if that actually exists, but I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for it this season. All right, stick with us because on 360, when we return, we're going to me. It's going to be Dear Drew. Stick with us. Welcome back to Texans 360 and Marc Vandermeer. After going to both coasts as well as London in 2019, Texans aren't going west of Houston, and they're staying pretty close to home. It's going to be an easy travel schedule.
But they do have the Rust Belt Tour, as I've named it. Not really catching on, but when you look at Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Detroit, that's the Rust Belt Tour, Drew.
I like it. That's something we, like you say, you're not going to see on marketing campaigns. Okay. You also are not going to see Dear Drew on marketing campaigns because we start things off in a sort of creepy E.T. in the closet sort of way. What? You never recreated the scene from E.T. for your kids too? First question comes from our good friend Jason McLeod. Jason always has great questions. I really do appreciate you sending those good ones in, Jason. He says, Dear Drew, do you think offensive coordinator Tim Kelly will use more two-back sets with Duke and David Johnson in the backfield? And yes, I do think you're going to go see those guys on the field at the same time in a lot of situations this year because they both can catch the ball so well out of the backfield and they're really good running backs. So yeah, I think as opposed to what you've seen from this offense in years past and really throughout its history, you will see both Johnsons in the backfield, same place, same time. It's going to be fun to see. John Flores has a good one. Dear Drew, what are your thoughts about the Texans' first game being in prime time against the Kansas City Chiefs? I love it. You know, I spoke with Laramie Tunsil earlier this week. I spoke with Jordan Akins about 3 or 4 days ago. Both those guys are very excited. They say they want to get that proverbial bad taste out of their mouth. Let's go against the best. Let's see what you got. They took that 24-0 lead, and they said, you can't cough up a lead like that. And they want another shot at them. They're looking forward to it. They're prepping. They're getting set. And they're going to be ready to go when the season kicks off in Kansas City on Thursday Night Football. And our good friend Graham Henderson, all the way from Scotland, has a very, very interesting question. This is a tough one. It's, Dear Drew, after the Lions saying today that they might limit the number of fans allowed to enter games, do you see NRG doing the same? It's a worry, as I've already booked travel to Detroit for the Thanksgiving game and for other Texans games. Yes, this is something that Bill O'Brien, in one of the very first things he said in the interview I did with him on Thursday when the schedule came out, he said, we're going to all have to, players, coaches, fans, we're going to all have to be prepared to be flexible, because we don't know what COVID-19 is going to do as far as limiting people that come into games, jiggling the dates and the times of the schedule. So we just don't know. And I know this isn't the answer you want to hear. I'm sorry, but you got to be prepared to be flexible and ready to change those plans if that does indeed come up. But that's such a great question. We're going to send you some Texas Lottery scratch-offs. I don't have my I need to get that thing. I need somebody to sneak into my office and bring it back to my house, and we will get you some Texas Lottery scratch-offs. So just email us right here, and we'll take care of you. It's good to hear from you. I hope you're safe over there in Scotland. Well, you can't see my computer, but I promise it's right here. So I'm gonna, here we go, ready? It's been a fun time. I miss you guys. Can't wait to see you again soon. Stay safe. And if your question didn't get answered here, it probably got answered in the article version, which is called The Leftovers. So go check that out. We sure had fun, and if you liked what you've seen tonight on Texans 360, go to HoustonTexans.com, go to the Houston Texans mobile app, heck, get your phone out, scan your QR code, and there's much more content like you've seen this evening. Mark, I wish I could be next to you in studio, but doing it via Zoom is going to have to do, huh?
Drew, I haven't seen you in forever. For all I know, you could be doing this show from Monte Carlo, but it's great to see you.
I wish. Not in Monte Carlo, but I am in shorts and flip-flops. All right. Mark, have a good one. And for the guys and gals who put this together, like Tyler Marcotte, Tyler Sudart, Jay McDevitt, and the rest, thank you to them. And we will see you next time on Texans 360. Go Texans. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.